17 days until the start of the NFL season, or roughly about 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks actually, until the beginning of the NFL season starting on Thursday night, September 4th. Eagles taking on the Cowboys at the Lynx. So, of course, we are all excited for the start of the season because I'm telling you right now, outside it just feels like football. But before we go any further, I definitely got to say welcome to Alpha Male Sports. I appreciate everybody for listening. Thank you guys for watching my content. I really do appreciate it. But really, in all essence, man, I definitely wanted to talk about one story in particular because right now, this has the entire NFL fanship in an uproar.
It's just part of it. You know, there's entertainers and there's competitors. And I totally understand that. And my job is to compete. And that's what I'm focused on doing. Of course, we're doing this mid.
Now, of course, yes, we're jumping right into it. Dillon Gabriel, rookie quarterback for the Cleveland Browns, of course, got his chance at starting this past Friday? Yeah, Friday versus the Philadelphia Eagles. How ironic. But yeah, Dillon Gabriel, he had his opportunity at the, not starting position, but they were able to give him his shot. Unfortunately, Shedeur Sanders went down this week due to an oblique I guess injury, if you will. Definitely gave him some time on the sideline, let him chill, let him rest or recuperate. We even saw something that was somewhat as wholesome as Jalen Hurts carting Shedeur Sanders off of the field. I'm not carting him off, but, riding in the golf cart, if you will. So, of course, we already know that there's been a lot of just attention, if you will, around the Browns organization. For one, they have about 5 different quarterbacks in an extremely crowded quarterback room. Okay. Not only that, you have 2 rookie quarterbacks that I wouldn't say they're fighting for a position on the team or just a job in general, but there is so much attention that has been circulating around the Cleveland Browns that unfortunately it has soaked up a majority of the attention in the NFL. Just to put it plainly, you even have the Dallas Cowboys fighting for attention because they can't seem to get it off of the Cleveland Browns and their quarterback situation. So of course, over the weekend, Dillon Gabriel, he had his chance taking on the Philadelphia Eagles, 13 for 10, 143 yards, no touchdowns, 2 sacks. One of those sacks was called a fumble, I think, and they recovered it. And then another one was a pick 6. Dillon Gabriel threw a pick 6. So unfortunately for Dillon Gabriel, things didn't necessarily turn out I guess like he expected it to. I mean, the guy was, he did solid, if you will. He's a rookie. So what do you expect? He's going to make mistakes. Shedeur had even made mistakes. Took a couple of sacks that some people may deem to be unnecessary, if you will. So we already can get that out of the, who did it better or who did it best. Because my issue today really is just how social media has almost taken over every space and every medium when it comes to just regular day life, politics, or even sports. Just in general, people take one thing and they either exacerbate it or they don't get any context to what it is that they see. So let's just go back into it really quickly. This is what has the entire NFL fanship, just all the fans, in an uproar. Just take a listen again.
It's just part of it. There's entertainers and there's competitors. And I totally understand that. And my job is to compete. And that's what I'm focused on doing.
So, of course, over the weekend, all I saw was the same quote. They're entertainers and they're competitors. They're entertainers and they're competitors. Entertainers and competitors. That's all I saw. And that was literally that clip that you just saw. That was the only clip that I saw. I did not see anything other than that until I started to do some research. But most of that statement, most people thought that statement was basically a shot at Shedeur Sanders. They believed that what he had said was directed specifically to Shedeur Sanders. And it even had me in somewhat of a, like a squinted eye kind of, head turn kind of, tone. I'm like, well, what did you mean by that? You did, I'm not coming at Dillon Gabriel. I wasn't, arguing or, just like, let's get our pitchforks and go after him. No, I just really wanted to know what did you mean by that? So, needless to say, this was an extremely polarizing issue because, of course, you had other folks that just didn't want to deal with the mess, why are we even doing that? Why are we even going that? As soon as we hear something that could even remotely sound like it, because, of course, they are in a crowded quarterback room. So any kind of drama, if you will, people are going to reach for it. People are going to grab for it. They're going to listen to it and say, this might be some drama. Or there might be something here. Let's dig. If you see something, people try to dig for more. So I went searching, you know what I mean? I just didn't want to sit with the fact that this guy was talking about his teammate. If any of you have ever been on a team or have ever been on, done somewhat of a team activity, you don't want to create a negative environment to where you and that person can't either communicate or can't just be teammates in general. So I went searching, I went looking, and, I was able to kind of get some context over the entire interview. Y'all take a listen.
You gave us some fabulous wisdom on how you tune out the noise and you don't let it infiltrate yourself. Will you share that with everybody at home?
Yeah, I think it's just part of it. There's entertainers and there's competitors, and I totally understand that. And my job is to compete, and that's what I'm focused on doing. Of course, we're doing this mid-game, but it's something that I'll get used to, and just want to be the best teammate I can and create an environment where we can all go do our best. There's entertainment.
This situation. So of course, when I listened to the clip and I saw that basically the question was directed to Dillon Gabriel. How does he tune out the noise? Being that he's a rookie, how is he able to tune out the noise and focus on what it is that he's doing? So first of all, the question wasn't even directed or even in the position to go towards Shedeur Sanders. It had nothing to do with Shedeur Sanders whatsoever. I'm not fighting anybody. I ain't coming at anybody. Y'all can, kill me in the comments, is whatever. But my point is that, guys, we reach so much for drama. Again, myself, I even said, what do you mean by that? But most people stop at that position and they'll either just go backwards and say, nah, he messed up for saying that. He wrong for that. Some people do that, and then others, they're like, I might need to look into this more. And I'm more on the side of, okay, let's get some context behind this, because I refuse to believe that this young man would go so low as to attacking his own teammate. And this is, again, no shot at no one, but again, I just don't see that happening. And then we go so even further where he was approached in the press conference after the game, and they had asked him.
What do you mean?
There's a quote that you said, there's entertainers and competitors, and I'm a competitor, and I understand there's entertainers. What context was that quote given?
All you in this room are entertainers, and you have a job to do, and I respect it, right? And I'm a competitor, so I have a job to do as well. And I think, just understanding that, that's how I've lived by, and I've said that multiple times. So definitely not a new quote, but something that I've definitely said.
So you were referring to media as the entertainer?
Yeah, I just said that.
Can you?
So of course, Dillon Gabriel, he addressed that part of it, because then they're like, okay, well, what do you? Just again, I've been in those rooms before. I've been in the rooms before where you're asking questions, and honestly, to be completely honest, it's a dog eat dog room and environment in there. If you don't have a question, or if you don't have anything, because you want to develop a relationship, and most of these reporters and writers, they want to somehow develop either a relationship or say that they know somebody. So sometimes they might be a bit jarring, or if something could be low-hanging fruit, they're going to go for it, and they're going to use it, and they're going to ask you questions. They're going to probe. They are going to probe. And I think I like how Dillon Gabriel handled this situation, because he even went so far as to not only defending Shedeur Sanders, but just defending himself and himself as a teammate just in general.
What do you mean?
There's a quote that you said, there's entertainers and competitors, and I'm a competitor, and I understand there's entertainers. What context was that quote given?
All you in this room are entertainers, and you have a job to do, and I respect it. Right, and I'm a competitor, so I have a job to do as well. And I think, just understanding that, that's how I've lived by, and I've said that multiple times. So definitely not a new quote, but something that I've definitely said.
So you were referring to media as the entertainer?
Yeah, I just said that.
Can you?
So I'm here to tell you right now, he's not talking about Shedeur. I'm here to tell you right now that there is no animosity within that quarterback room. I am here to tell you that it would be foolish. And now we've seen it. Let me not be crass as to saying that we haven't seen this at all, because we've seen teammates go at each other. We've seen pettiness between teammates. Again, we even have a former MVP quarterback calling himself Petty Cam. So, of course, we know that people possess the ability to be petty, be low. If they go low, I go lower. We understand that. This is unfortunately the world that we live in. But when we go so far as just reaching, like just tugging at something, I just really feel as though it's just not conducive to the game of football just in general. I really feel as though, just looking at these two gentlemen, if I'm Joe Flacco or if I'm Deshaun Watson, I'm thanking my lucky stars that no one is paying attention to me. I'm thanking God that no one is even looking my way. I bet you guys didn't even remember that Deshaun Watson recently got married. Exactly. That's the crazy thing about it all. I mean, literally just 2 years ago, he's dealing with an entire, sexual misconduct case and all these cases coming up against him. And then on the other hand, he gets married. You dig what I'm saying? And then Joe Flacco, again, he's possibly one of the oldest quarterbacks to be playing right now who actually has a championship and who's more than likely expected to have the position or the number one quarterback position going into the season. So for these two young men to handle a lot of the scrutiny, a lot of the noise, a lot of the cameras, because they just attract that, not only due to the fact that they have an extremely crowded quarterback position, but you got a former Hall of Famer son and you got another young man who was drafted ahead of this guy. I mean, it's bonkers. I'm not going to stick to the Browns all season. I normally don't even follow the Browns, but this story just in general had to talk about it, because I don't want people to go into the season trying to pit these two gentlemen against each other. Please don't do that, guys. That is just low-hanging fruit, and it just doesn't make any sense. I like how
there's a quote that you said,
are handling themselves, how the season is going thus far, and it'd be interesting to see how the Cleveland Browns are able to actually maneuver through this mess that they have created. You dig what I'm saying? It's a lot. And not only to mention, Dillon Gabriel, of course, came from Oregon, where Dan Lanning, of course, made that famous statement where they do it for clicks, we do it for real. That whole thing, Oregon taking on Colorado. So, of course, that would also be something that people would also reference in order to get their points across. And I don't like doing that. I don't like bringing up meaningless points in order to win an argument. People, it's sports. Football is headed back in less than, in 2.5 weeks. I'm super excited. And we don't need this kind of drama going into the season. And I'm also talking to you, Cam. Leave these folks alone. Just don't even go into it, guys. Listen, the season's about to start. Don't ruin my vibe, all right? My name is Walter Pollard. This is Alpha Male Sports, and I am signing out. Peace.